So in the late 1930s, illegal gambling was prominent in Southern California. And then a new mayor was elected in 1938, a man named Fletcher Bowron. And Fletcher Bowron was an anti-gambling guy. He was going to come in and clean up Southern California, clean up Los Angeles. And this he did. At the same time, the Attorney General of California, Earl Warren, was wanting to shut down what they called these gambling ships, these gambling boats that were operating off the coast of Southern California. And one of those ships was operated by a man named Marion Hicks. Marion Hicks was doing very well. He had a very successful gambling boat. And people would come out in these little boats, and then they would get on the big ship, and there was music, and there was food, and there was gambling, and it was a great time. The argument for it was outside the maritime limit, so it was presumably beyond the law. Well, Earl Warren finagled a change in the law that extended the maritime limit out well beyond the 3-mile limit that they were accustomed to, and it made it very difficult for these boats to operate. So Fletcher Bowron is cracking down on, gambling on land. Earl Warren is cracking down on gambling on water. These gamblers in Southern California needed a place to go to do their trade, and they saw Las Vegas as an opportunity. Marion Hicks came to Las Vegas approximately 1940, and he, with a couple of partners, decided to build the El Cortez Hotel. And he decided something a little different from some of his colleagues in California. He decided to focus on downtown Las Vegas and build, what at the time was a premier hotel casino on Fremont Street. So for $245,000, he built the El Cortez, the first incarnation of it, 59 rooms, and opened it in November of 1941. So he was in on the early stages of what we know as Las Vegas today. It might have been very hard to imagine at that point how big Las Vegas would ultimately become, but there was a lot of promise in it. So Hicks opens the El Cortez in 1941 on the east end of Fremont Street. So Fremont Street is a bustling little glitter gulch of gambling and neon signs, all of these casinos all cheek by jowl along the street. Then there's a little gap, and then there's the El Cortez, and the El Cortez has a little bit more of a spread, a little bit more space, and this ultimately was very wise on Hicks's part to take advantage of that, because it became, for a time, really the premier place in downtown. So Hicks operated the El Cortez for about 5 years before he had an opportunity. And a syndicate, if you will, of investors from back east wanted to buy the El Cortez in 1945. And they ended up buying it for in excess of $600,000. So Hicks and his partners ended up doing very well on that deal. What they may not have fully understood at the time, or maybe they did, was that this group that was buying the El Cortez was the first, onslaught, if you will, of traditional organized crime into Las Vegas. These were some high-powered names that we still know today from the gambling, from mob history. Meyer Lansky led the syndicate. Mo Sedway was involved. Gus Greenbaum was involved. A guy named Benjamin Bugsy Siegel was part of the group. Davy Berman and Chicky Berman, and Ice Pick Willie Alderman. These were the most prominent individuals. They came from New York, they came from Minneapolis, and they came from Arizona, all together in this sort of strange syndicate of mobsters who bought the El Cortez. My name is Jeff Schumacher. I'm the Senior Director of Content at the Mob Museum in downtown Las Vegas.